Men over 60, I'm going to say this as clearly as I can. If you keep eating these 5 popular nuts, you may be slowly killing your erections, and you won't even know it's happening. Not next week, not tomorrow, but day by day, bite by bite, you're quietly cutting off blood flow, lowering testosterone, and damaging the very foundation of your manhood. And what's worse, you probably think these nuts are healthy. I'm Dr. Mohit Kara, a urologist and men's health expert with over 3 decades of clinical experience. I've helped thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s take back their sexual health. And what I'm about to share may shock you, just like it shocked them. Because here's the truth. Not all nuts are created equal. While some can boost blood flow and testosterone, others, especially the ones you see in shiny packages or flavored blends, are working against you, silently, consistently. And unless you know which ones to avoid, you may never feel fully strong or confident in the bedroom again. But there's good news. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 5 nuts to stop eating, and what to replace them with if you want to support firmer, healthier erections naturally. And stick around, because I'll also reveal the worst offender of them all, the nut I now call the silent erection killer. It's in nearly every pantry across America, including yours. Before we dive into these 5 dangerous nuts, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell. That way, you'll never miss another important tip to protect your erections and your health after 60. And if you find this video helpful, just type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Your feedback helps me make these videos better for you. Alright, let's get started. The first nut you need to watch out for is one that shows up in almost every snack bowl. And it's often mistaken for a health food, but for men over 60, it can quietly chip away at your circulation and lower your testosterone without you even realizing it. Let's talk about cashews, and why they might be the sugar-coated trap that's silently weakening your erections. 1. Cashews, the sugar-coated trap. Cashews are one of the most deceiving foods in the modern American diet, especially for men over 60. You've seen them everywhere. Smooth, buttery, luxurious little bites that feel like an upgrade from ordinary snacks. Many older men reach for cashews thinking they're a healthier choice. They're tasty, they look clean, and they're often sold alongside other heart-healthy options. But what if I told you that behind that smooth taste is a silent threat to your erections? Here's the truth. Most cashews lining the shelves today are anything but natural. They're almost always roasted in processed industrial oils, like canola, soybean, or sunflower oil, and coated with salt or sugar to boost shelf life and flavor. Those oils don't just add calories. They actively promote inflammation throughout your body, and that includes the blood vessels that carry blood to your penis. When these vessels become inflamed, they lose their ability to expand properly. That's a big problem, because strong, healthy erections depend on clean, flexible arteries that deliver a rush of blood when you need it. Take that away, and you're left with softer, slower, or even absent responses. Now let's talk about the sugar. Many popular roasted cashews come with a lightly sweet flavor profile, honey roasted, maple glazed, or even cinnamon dusted. These sound harmless, maybe even comforting, but the truth is, even small amounts of added sugar can spike insulin levels, especially as we age. And what does that mean for your testosterone? It means trouble. Chronically high insulin increases abdominal fat, lowers natural testosterone production, and promotes a hormonal state that favors estrogen over androgens. That's the exact opposite of what an aging man needs if he wants to maintain vitality and a satisfying sex life. I've had patients, men in their mid-60s and 70s, who were doing nearly everything else right. They exercised, took their meds, tried to eat clean, but they had no idea that their nightly handful of sweet roasted cashews was contributing to their fading bedroom confidence. One man even told me, "Doc, I thought I was eating healthy. I gave up chips and ice cream for this." And yet, when we looked closer, his inflammatory markers were up, his testosterone was down, and his nitric oxide levels were falling off. After we removed the flavored nuts and restored healthy fats from better sources, his energy and his erections began to return. Even unsweetened, dry roasted cashews can be a problem if they've been cooked at high temperatures or with cheap oils. The high heat processing used to make them shelf stable actually damages the healthy fats within the nut. This causes oxidation, which leads to harmful compounds that silently damage your endothelium, the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels. Think of it like tiny cracks forming in your plumbing system. At first, you don't notice anything, but over time, things stop flowing the way they used to. That's exactly what happens to the arteries leading to your penis. They narrow, stiffen, and eventually stop delivering the blood needed to sustain an erection. So should you swear off cashews entirely? Not necessarily. If you love them and you find truly raw, organic cashews, unsalted, unroasted, and free from added oils or sugar, you can enjoy them in moderation, but they should never be your go-to nut, and certainly not the kind that comes in a shiny bag with a sweet or salty flavor. If you're serious about restoring blood flow and protecting your erections, they're a food to minimize or avoid entirely. Now, if you think cashews are sneaky, wait until you hear about the next nut. It's even more common, found in almost every household pantry, and it's not even technically a nut at all. Yet it contains compounds that can lower testosterone, increase inflammation, and damage your sexual health at the hormonal level. This one catches almost every man by surprise, especially those trying to eat clean. Let's talk about peanuts. If you're still watching and finding this information helpful, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're here and committed to your health. Now, let's keep going. It's time to talk about the second nut you need to avoid. 2. Peanuts, the silent hormone disruptor. Peanuts are the ultimate imposter. They show up at every party, in every pantry, and for many men over 60, in their daily diet. From peanut butter sandwiches to protein bars and trail mixes, peanuts have become a staple snack that feels familiar, convenient, and comforting. But what most men don't realize is that peanuts, while cheap and satisfying, are quietly sabotaging their hormones, poisoning their circulation, and slowly stealing away the very thing that makes them feel like men, their erections. The first thing you need to know is that peanuts aren't actually nuts. They're legumes. That means they behave differently in your body, especially in your gut and bloodstream. And while they may offer some protein, they come with a hidden price that older men can't afford to ignore. Peanuts are notorious for containing aflatoxins, naturally occurring molds that can grow on crops stored in warm, humid conditions. These toxins are invisible to the eye, tasteless, and nearly impossible to detect unless you're testing for them in a lab. But once inside your body, they put immense pressure on your liver, cause systemic inflammation, and have been linked to reduced testosterone production and impaired fertility in men. Think about that for a moment. Something as innocent as a spoonful of peanut butter could be placing a hormonal burden on your body that chips away at your sexual strength over time. And it doesn't stop there. Peanuts are also extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6s are not inherently evil. We need some for healthy function. But the problem is balance. When your diet is overloaded with omega-6s and lacking in omega-3s, like the kind you get from fatty fish or flax, it creates a state of chronic inflammation in your body. That inflammation doesn't just hurt your joints or digestion, it directly impacts the delicate endothelial lining of your blood vessels. That's where nitric oxide is produced, the compound responsible for relaxing and dilating your blood vessels to allow blood to rush into the penis. When those vessels are inflamed or stiff, blood flow slows down, erections weaken, and spontaneity disappears. And let's talk about peanut butter. Most commercial peanut butters are packed with added sugars, hydrogenated oils, and emulsifiers. These aren't there for your health, they're there to improve texture and shelf life. But for your body, they spell disaster. Added sugar spikes your insulin, encourages fat gain around the belly, and lowers free testosterone. Hydrogenated oils promote plaque buildup in arteries and worsen blood flow. All of this together creates a perfect storm for erectile dysfunction in aging men. I've had older patients tell me, "Doctor, I eat peanut butter every day. It's my comfort food." But what they don't realize is that comfort often comes at the cost of capability. Their blood labs reveal low testosterone, high inflammatory markers, and declining vascular function. And once they cut peanuts and peanut products from their diet, things begin to change. Their waistline shrinks, their morning erections return, and their overall energy improves. Not because of a miracle, but because they removed a silent hormone disruptor they didn't even know was there. What's even more surprising is that peanuts contain compounds known as phytoestrogens, plant-based chemicals that can mimic estrogen in the body. For older men whose testosterone levels are already declining, this can throw off the hormonal balance even further, pushing you into fatigue, low libido, and emotional dullness. So while peanuts might seem harmless, or even nostalgic, they are, for many men, a slow, steady erosion of their masculinity. They don't strike overnight, but over months and years, they rob your body of the hormonal and vascular power it needs to function sexually. If you're eating peanuts or peanut butter daily, it's time to rethink that choice. And if you think peanuts are bad, wait until you hear about the next nut on the list. It's marketed as exotic, elegant, and heart-healthy. But when roasted the wrong way, it becomes a cholesterol trap that clogs the very arteries your erections depend on. Let's talk about macadamia nuts. 3. Macadamia nuts, the hidden cholesterol trap when roasted. Macadamia nuts have an elegant reputation. They're marketed as luxurious, heart-healthy, and packed with good fats. You'll find them in gourmet snack blends, high-end health food stores, and fancy gift tins. And on the surface, they seem like the perfect nut, smooth, rich in flavor, and full of monounsaturated fats that support cholesterol balance. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For men over 60, especially those struggling with energy, circulation, and sexual function, roasted macadamia nuts can quietly turn from a treat into a threat. Most macadamia nuts sold in stores aren't raw. They're roasted, usually in bulk, using processed seed oils like soybean or canola, and they're often heavily salted. While raw macadamias in small amounts may have some benefits, the roasted version changes everything. Once exposed to high heat and inflammatory oils, those once healthy fats start to break down. The process of oxidation takes place, forming harmful compounds that silently damage your vascular system. That's right, the very system responsible for delivering blood where it needs to go when intimacy calls. Let's focus on the arteries that matter most for sexual function. The penile artery is extremely small, just 1 to 2 millimeters wide. That makes it one of the first blood vessels in the body to show signs of blockage. Long before a man experiences chest pain or heart symptoms, he may notice softer erections, delayed arousal, or a complete lack of response. Roasted macadamia nuts, filled with oxidized fats and excessive sodium, can make this situation worse. Over time, the inflammation caused by those oils damages the endothelium, the inner lining of your arteries, reducing your body's ability to produce nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is the key that unlocks blood flow, allowing the penis to engorge and remain firm. Then there's the salt. Many older men already deal with elevated blood pressure, even if it's being managed with medication. Adding more sodium to your diet, especially from snack foods, increases vascular resistance and forces the heart to work harder to circulate blood. This added pressure narrows the arteries and further restricts flow, making strong, spontaneous erections less and less likely. The worst part? You often don't even realize it's happening. There's no pain, no warning, just a slow, frustrating decline in bedroom performance. I've had patients who switched to macadamia nuts thinking they were making a smart, healthy choice. One man in his 70s told me he was eating a handful every evening, thinking it was good for his cholesterol. But his energy was down, he hadn't had a solid erection in months, and he couldn't figure out why. When we looked closer, his daily intake of oxidized fats and sodium from roasted macadamias and other healthy snacks was quietly undermining his circulation. When he replaced them with raw, unsalted nuts like walnuts and pistachios, things began to shift. Within weeks, his blood pressure dropped, his morning erections returned, and his overall sense of vitality improved. There's also the issue of cholesterol, something most older men monitor closely. While macadamia nuts in raw form can support healthy cholesterol when used appropriately, the roasted varieties can contribute to unhealthy lipid profiles if consumed alongside processed oils and salt. Inflammation, oxidation, and vascular stress all work together to worsen arterial health. And as you know by now, Poor artery health is at the heart of nearly every case of erectile dysfunction in men over 60. So the takeaway here isn't that macadamia nuts are evil, but that the way they're prepared and consumed makes all the difference. Roasted, salted, oil-coated versions are a trap, a seductive, crunchy little cholesterol trap that can quietly choke off blood flow to your most vital organ. And when that happens, no amount of pills or quick fixes can undo the long-term damage. But we're not done yet. If you thought macadamias were risky, the next nut on our list takes things to a whole new level. It's a so-called super nut, rich in selenium, often praised for boosting fertility and thyroid health. But in the wrong amounts, it becomes toxic and can directly suppress testosterone, damage sperm production, and trigger full-blown sexual fatigue. Let's talk about Brazil nuts. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, go ahead and type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. Now, let's keep going. It's time to uncover the 4th nut that could be quietly hurting your erections. 4. Brazil nuts, the selenium time bomb. Brazil nuts have developed a reputation as a superfood, and for good reason. They're one of the richest sources of selenium on the planet, a mineral essential for thyroid function, immune health, and yes, even sperm production. So on the surface, Brazil nuts seem like a smart choice for older men who want to stay strong and vital. But the truth is far more complex and far more dangerous than most realize. Especially for men over 60 who are already walking a hormonal tightrope, Brazil nuts may not be helping. They might be slowly poisoning your sexual function. What makes Brazil nuts unique is also what makes them risky. A single Brazil nut can contain over 90 micrograms of selenium. That's already more than 150% of the recommended daily intake. Eat just 2 or 3 a day, and you're hitting toxic levels within a week. The human body needs selenium, but it stores it poorly, and too much can quickly tip the scales from helpful to harmful. And the symptoms of selenium toxicity aren't always obvious at first. Fatigue, mental fog, irritability, and brittle nails are common early signs. But the deeper, more hidden cost is what it does to your hormones, your vascular system, and ultimately, your ability to perform. In men, excess selenium has been shown to interfere with testosterone production. It can disrupt the balance of other trace minerals like zinc and magnesium, 2 nutrients critical for male sexual health. Over time, this imbalance can lower free testosterone, reduce nitric oxide synthesis, and blunt the body's arousal response. You may feel less desire, less energy, and when the moment comes, you may find your body simply doesn't respond the way it used to. I had one patient in his early 60s, a retired engineer, who came to me frustrated and confused. He had started adding Brazil nuts to his morning routine after reading online that they were great for testosterone. He was eating 4 to 5 a day, every single day, thinking he was doing himself a favor. But instead of feeling stronger, he began to feel sluggish. His sex drive dropped, his erections became unreliable, and his blood work showed a worrying decline in both testosterone and sperm quality. When we reviewed his diet and removed the Brazil nuts completely, his hormone levels slowly began to stabilize, and his confidence returned. Another danger is the effect of selenium overload on the thyroid. For men over 60, thyroid health and sexual function are closely linked. The thyroid regulates metabolism, energy, and the balance of key sex hormones. When it becomes stressed by excessive selenium, everything begins to slow down. Libido, stamina, and the ability to maintain an erection. And once your thyroid falls out of rhythm, it can take months to fully reset. Now, to be clear, selenium is not your enemy. In the right amount, it supports sperm health and fertility. But with Brazil nuts, the margin of safety is razor thin. 1 or 2 a week might be fine for most men, but daily consumption, especially in higher quantities, can quietly drag your system into hormonal imbalance. And that imbalance shows up first where most men fear it most, in the bedroom. The worst part? Most people have no idea this is happening. They think they're eating healthy. They trust the label. They believe they're doing something good for their body. But the truth is, if you're over 60 and regularly eating Brazil nuts, You may be unknowingly sabotaging your erections, disrupting your testosterone, and slowly shutting down the very systems that keep your sexual health alive. And now, we've reached the final nut on this list, and it might be the most dangerous of them all. Not because of what it is, but because of how it's processed. It comes in colorful packaging. It's sold everywhere from gas stations to grocery stores, and it's packed with flavor, crunch, and preservatives. But behind that flavor is a deadly mix of oils, chemicals, and sodium that can choke your arteries and steal your erections faster than anything else on this list. Let's talk about flavored mixed nuts. 5. Flavored mixed nuts. The erection killers in disguise. Out of all the nuts on this list, this last category is without question the most deceptive and the most dangerous for your erections. Flavored mixed nuts. You've seen them everywhere. Grocery store shelves, gas stations, vending machines, gift baskets. They come in flashy packaging with bold promises like sweet heat, smoky barbecue, honey roasted, or maple glazed. They look fun, they smell great, and they feel like a satisfying high-protein snack. But for men over 60, these flavored mixed nuts are one of the biggest threats to sexual performance you'll ever casually toss into your shopping cart. The danger isn't just in the nuts themselves, it's in what's been done to them. These are not raw or naturally roasted nuts. They're heavily processed, soaked in industrial seed oils, loaded with sodium, packed with sugar, and coated in artificial flavorings that do far more harm than good. And they don't just impact your waistline. They directly affect the two most critical systems involved in maintaining a strong, healthy erection: your cardiovascular system and your endocrine system. Let's talk about blood flow. Every single erection begins and ends with circulation. If blood can't reach your penis, it can't function. And what restricts blood flow? Inflammation, high blood pressure, and hardened arteries. Flavored mixed nuts deliver a perfect storm of all three. The processed oils, especially soybean, corn, and canola, are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. Too much omega-6 throws off your body's inflammatory balance and leads to stiff, narrowed arteries over time. That's the exact opposite of what you need for smooth, responsive blood flow during arousal. Then there's the salt. Some flavored nut varieties contain over 300 milligrams of sodium per handful. For an older man, especially one already managing blood pressure, that's like pouring salt into an open wound. Elevated blood pressure doesn't just harm your heart, it strangles the tiny arteries in the penis, which are much more sensitive than the ones in your chest or legs. Many men don't realize that erectile dysfunction often shows up years before any signs of heart disease. It's an early warning system, and if you're ignoring it, you're playing with fire. But it gets worse. These flavored nuts are often coated with ingredients that sound innocent but behave like poisons inside your body. Chemical preservatives like BHT and TBHQ are added to prevent spoilage, but they've been linked to hormone disruption and even cellular damage. Additives like MSG and artificial smoke or bacon flavorings are neurotoxic in some people and can interfere with your body's natural hormone regulation. All of this affects your testosterone, your sexual desire, and your nervous system's ability to trigger and sustain an erection. And don't forget the sugar. Whether it's honey roasted or glazed with maple or brown sugar, these nuts send your blood sugar on a roller coaster ride. High blood sugar damages your nerves, reduces nitric oxide availability, and suppresses testosterone production. Over time, this leads to fatigue, low libido, and difficulty getting or maintaining an erection. It's not dramatic or immediate, it's subtle and cumulative, which is what makes it so dangerous. You don't feel it happening. You just notice that things in the bedroom aren't the way they used to be, and you wonder why. I've seen it time and time again. A patient tells me he's cut out soda, fried foods, and desserts, but he's still snacking on flavored mixed nuts every evening while watching TV. He thinks he's being healthy, but his blood pressure is up, his testosterone is down, and his erections are fading. Once we remove those nuts and replace them with better options, things begin to shift. He starts to feel stronger, his circulation improves, his confidence returns. So if you're serious about protecting your manhood, these flavored mixed nuts need to go. They are not innocent, they are not helpful, they are, quite literally, salted, sugared, oil-soaked packages of erectile dysfunction, and they are hiding in plain sight in nearly every home in America. But don't worry, this isn't about taking food away. It's about choosing smarter. So now that you know what to avoid, let's talk about what you should be eating instead. Because certain nuts can actually enhance blood flow, raise testosterone, and support erections naturally, if you know which ones to reach for. Let me show you. 6. So, what should you eat instead? Now that you know which nuts to avoid, let's shift gears and talk about the ones that can actually help restore blood flow, support testosterone, and protect your erections as you age. Because the truth is, not all nuts are enemies. In fact, some are powerful allies if you choose them carefully and eat them in their natural state. The key is to understand that it's not just the type of nut, but how it's processed, how often you eat it, and whether it supports or sabotages your circulation and hormones. Let's start with walnuts. If there's one nut I consistently recommend to older men looking to improve their sexual health, it's this one. Walnuts are rich in L-arginine, an amino acid that boosts nitric oxide levels in the blood. Nitric oxide is what relaxes your blood vessels and allows for increased flow to the penis during arousal. The more available nitric oxide you have, the easier it is to get and maintain an erection. Walnuts are also loaded with antioxidants and healthy omega-3 fats, which reduce inflammation, unlike the omega-6 heavy nuts we discussed earlier. Just a small handful of raw, unsalted walnuts a day can help support better circulation, lower blood pressure, and promote a healthier cardiovascular system overall. Another great option is raw almonds. These are packed with vitamin E, magnesium, and zinc, 3 nutrients that play a direct role in testosterone production, nerve health, and blood flow. Vitamin E is especially important as we age because it helps protect the delicate endothelial lining of your arteries. That's the very tissue responsible for releasing nitric oxide and keeping your blood vessels flexible. When this lining becomes inflamed or damaged, everything from blood pressure to erectile response begins to suffer. Almonds also help regulate blood sugar, which is key since elevated glucose levels are known to interfere with both hormone production and nerve sensitivity. Again, the trick is to eat them raw and unsalted. No honey glaze, no added oils, no artificial coatings. And then there are pistachios. Believe it or not, there's actual clinical research showing that men who eat pistachios daily see measurable improvement in erectile function. One study found that after just 3 weeks of eating a small handful each day, men experienced firmer erections, improved blood lipid levels, and greater satisfaction in the bedroom. Why? Pistachios are high in antioxidants, plant sterols, and arginine. They promote vasodilation and protect against the oxidative stress that damages blood vessels over time. They're also one of the lowest calorie nuts, making them a smart choice if you're watching your weight. What do all 3 of these have in common? They're whole, raw, and free from the additives that cause inflammation, hormonal imbalance, and vascular damage. They don't come in shiny, flavored packages. They're not sitting in salty oil baths, and they're not coated in preservatives or sugar. They're as close to nature as you can get, and that's exactly what your body needs if you want to keep your sex life alive and thriving well into your 60s, 70s, and beyond. I can't count how many older men I've seen regain their confidence, their energy, and their bedroom performance just by making simple shifts like this. They didn't need a prescription. They didn't need an expensive supplement or an embarrassing conversation at the pharmacy. They just needed to stop feeding their body what was silently killing their erections and start nourishing it with foods that heal. Because the truth is, food isn't neutral. Every bite you take is either fueling your ability to perform or slowly shutting it down. And when you reach your 60s, the margin for error becomes smaller. Your body needs the right kind of support, clean, unprocessed, and rich in the nutrients that promote blood flow, hormone balance, and vitality. Now, if you've been eating the wrong kinds of nuts for years, don't panic. The damage isn't permanent. The human body is incredibly resilient, especially when you remove the blocks and give it what it truly needs. Change can happen quickly, sometimes in a matter of weeks, but it starts with awareness, then action. And now that you know what to avoid and what to choose instead, there's one final piece I want to leave you with. Because even if you clean up your diet, there's another silent habit, something millions of older men do every day that may still be sabotaging your erections without you realizing it. And in the next few moments, I'm going to show you exactly what it is and how to stop it before it's too late. 7. Final thoughts. If you've made it this far, that tells me something important about you. You care. You're not someone who's ready to give up or settle for decline. You're someone who still wants to feel alive, in your body, in your mind, and in your relationship. And I want to tell you right now, as someone who's spent over 30 years working with men just like you, it's not too late, not even close. What we've talked about today may seem like small things: cashews, peanuts, macadamias, Brazil nuts, and flavored mixes. They're just snacks, right? But when you look deeper, they're actually symbols. They represent choices, habits, quiet decisions we make every day without realizing the long-term effects. For men over 60, those choices matter more than ever, because at this stage in life, your body is no longer willing to tolerate the same abuse. It needs care. It needs precision. And more than anything, it needs the kind of nutrition that supports blood flow, hormone balance, and healthy sexual function. I've seen the difference it makes. I've seen men walk into my office ashamed, tired, unsure of who they've become. And I've seen them walk out months later stronger, more energetic, and proud of what they've rebuilt. Not just physically, but emotionally. Because this isn't just about sex. It's about what it represents: your vitality, your confidence, your ability to feel connection, and your sense of purpose. We live in a culture that often tells older men to step aside, to fade quietly. But I don't believe in that. I believe this chapter of life can be just as full of power, passion, and possibility as any other, if you treat your body with the respect it deserves, if you feed it what it needs to thrive. You now know the nuts to avoid and the ones to embrace. That may seem like a small shift, but over time, it can mean the difference between decline and renewal. So here's what I encourage you to do. Take this knowledge and put it into action. Start small. Swap out the flavored snacks for raw, whole alternatives. Read the labels. Be intentional. Every good choice builds momentum, and every step brings you closer to the energy and intimacy you deserve. You've got more life ahead, more love to give, more strength inside you than you may realize. Don't let hidden ingredients take that away. Take your health back, one choice at a time. And as always, I'm here to guide you, because every man deserves to feel like himself again. Stay strong, stay sharp, and never stop fighting for your vitality.